In today's lesson, I want you to keep in mind the sphere demonstration on how to get three-dimensional form using our values. But today I'm going to cover pencil techniques in order to relay those values on objects, on form shadows. So let's begin with our pencils again. And we're going to create our 5-value chart the same way we did 2 lessons ago. And then I'm going to show you some techniques to get those values. Okay? So why don't you get your 2B pencil out? And we're going to create the values all the way across. And we're going to break right through these 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. Okay? First square is 0. All right. So remember, I'm keeping it light, getting it darker. Number 2. I'm going to spend a little time in 3 here, so I know where I'm at. 3 should be more of a middle value. Okay. Then I'm going to switch my pencil. I'm going to go to the 4B. Which is normally what we use for 4, because my 2B won't go any darker. And then my 5 value. Okay. So I'm creating my chart here, trying to get a sense of the range of my values. So this has to be a little bit darker. 4 is darker. 3 is about right. 2 could be a little bit darker, so I'm going to go back in with my 2B. Just a little bit darker here. And this is good practice. Even though we've done this chart before, it is good practice to keep doing it so that you become aware of the values, the range of values, and it becomes more intuitive. Okay. Now, in the next row, I'm going to recreate these values, but I'm going to use certain pencil techniques for each value. All right. So we originally created the 5-value chart using parallel diagonal lines. And so we're going to do the same for value 1. Value 1, I'm going to take my HB pencil. See this, HB pencil, all right, and I'm going to use parallel diagonal lines to get this value, okay, parallel diagonal lines. Okay, that's my value 1, all right. Value 2, I'm going to use my B pencil, and I'm also going to use parallel diagonal lines. Just remember, this has to be a little bit deeper than our 1. Parallel diagonal lines. Okay? And you see in these, I've raised the pencil up a little bit and tilted it more towards the point. Okay? Alright. Alright, so I'm going to put PD here, meaning parallel diagonal, on these 2. Now on value 3, I'm going to get my 2B pencil again, but I'm not going to use parallel diagonal lines. I'm going to use cross contour, which, if you remember correctly, cross contour, if we had our object, cross contour is going to go across our object, okay? All right, so we're going to try that technique in here. So it's going to be, just think of it as going around some kind of object. They're almost like loose check marks, but they're slightly curved, and I want to try to get to value 3, so I'm going to repeat. Now, if I'm modeling a form, and I talked about this when we did the apples, I could also take my cross contour and turn it slightly, move it in a different direction, but I'm not going to do that for the chart here, okay? All right. All right, so this is called cross contour, all right? Now let's go on to value 4. Value 4, we're going to use our 4B pencil, and now we're going to do something called cross hatching. And that's when you take the lines, you're creating them parallel and diagonal, and then you're shifting it to create basically a cross hatch or like a woven type of look. Now, when you create the cross hatch, you never want the cross hatch to be like at 90 degrees, okay? So when you try to do cross hatch, you want to take your line, let's say my parallel diagonal is moving this way, and then you just want to shift it slightly. And you don't want them to intersect at 90-degree angles, okay? So not 90 degree, but slightly shifted, okay? So let's do that for our value 4, okay? So I'm going to start out with my parallel diagonal. And then I'm going to shift it to get cross hatching. And I can go back and forth. And I want to try to get dark. But I also want to leave a little bit of the white of the paper. You can see the texture of the paper showing through, okay? Okay, and that's called crosshatch, C-H, crosshatch, okay? Now, for value 5, we're going to do the crosshatch also, and then we're going to do something like a C in the crosshatch. So we're just going to look here for a minute. This is like blown up, right? I've left the parallelograms showing, okay? And obviously this is going to have to be smaller, but I'm just showing you it large. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a little kind of random C circle type of thing in the empty spaces, okay? And this is called a unified tone, all right? But I don't want to see the C's, okay? I just want to have a feeling that they're there. And this is a way to darken a tone and still keep an airy sense in the technique, okay? All right, so let's try that. And you're using your 6B pencil, okay? So first we're going to crosshatch. And remember, they have to be not little squares, but parallelograms. Okay. And then within those crosshatches, I'm going to do my little C's. And you can see how you can't really see my C's. All right? They're not obvious. They're very subtle. But this creates a different kind of texture, and you're able to get the tone darker overall without getting it shiny. Remember, I don't want shiny. That's bad technique. Okay? And this is going to come in handy when we talk about the shadow edge on your form, because that is it's a darker area and it's very subtle, and you can create very subtle transitions between the values. Okay, and this is called the unified tone with the little C's in it.